moving along to some other news that is a bit older at this point, just to wrap it up, because there's not really much else to talk about. We're just doing all NFL this week. I just realized that's the entire show sheet is just NFL news because there's nothing else. I guess this is sort of college-related news. Jim Harbaugh. Now, this is, I know, a week old at this point, but Jim Harbaugh, new Chargers head coach, and I think this is an absolutely fantastic hire for the Chargers. Seth, unfortunately, is not here to celebrate with us as Jim Harbaugh, his once enemy as a Michigan State fan like me, is now his only hope in saving this Chargers team. Now, what I will say is Jim Harbaugh, he is something of a quarterback guru. I mean, we saw it in the pros at least some time ago, right, with Alex Smith and then Colin Kaepernick, and then we saw it in college with, Cade McNamara and then J.J. McCarthy. The only thing I will say is both Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy are very different quarterbacks than Justin Herbert. Definitely a different quarterback from Justin Jefferson. Justin Herbert, he's a gunslinger. He's not a dunk and dime. He's not a play action necessarily. Although with Austin Eckler as your running back, you can certainly do a lot with play action with them. But either way, Jim Harbaugh is a far more experienced and far more qualified coach than Brandon Staley. I don't see this not working out for the Chargers. I think they will be a good team. I think they'll put together some really nice seasons. As far as whether or not they'll win the Super Bowl, still yet to be seen. Jim obviously tried to win the Super Bowl with the 49ers and came up short. And the more that I look at the Chargers and I look at just the talent pool they have, I'm like, how did Brandon Staley mess this up? Like, how is that even possible? Like, hold on. Real quick. I need to look at their depth chart. Okay. Like, how did Brandon Staley, hold on, we're loading. Here we go. You have and this is counting injuries. So some of these aren't even, some of these aren't even accurate technically. So you have Keenan Allen, Jalen Guyton. You have, Jalen Guyton is technically a tight end, I think. You have Josh Palmer. You have Quentin Johnston. When he's healthy, you have Mike Evans or Mike Williams, not Mike Evans. They could have Mike Evans. You have Austin Eckler. And then obviously you have Justin Herbert at quarterback. On top of the fact that on defense, you have Khalil Mack. You have where is he? Joey Bosa, right? Where's Joey Bosa? Oh, was he hurt? He must have been hurt. You have Asante Samuel. You have Eric Kendricks. You have so many guys where I'm like, how did you make this like terrible? Like, not like you made it like average. I could see that, right? Like 9-8, 10-7. Like 8-9. I could see that. How did you make it 5-12? Like, how did you even do that? That's like something terrible must have happened. And what's funny is if you look back at like some of the news cycle around when he was hired, when Brandon Staley was hired, it was the same hiring cycle as Dan Campbell. Everybody, oh, look at the Chargers. They really hit on this one. They really got the right. Could you believe the Lions? They hire that bum tight ends coach. What does he know about? And then Brandon Staley was an unmitigated disaster, and Dan Campbell is the exact opposite. But I don't know. Time will tell. At least it won't tell on Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley is certainly less successful than Dan Campbell, but certainly Dan Campbell keeps going where he's at, and we basically are consistently a 10+ win team every season. Making playoff runs rather consistently. Like, it's not going to be any question. But I think it's a good hire. I think it's a splash hire. And I saw earlier, I think yesterday, that they're looking to hire some GM. And I think there's something to hiring the coach and then hiring the GM. This is what the Lions did. They hired the coach before they hired the GM. And I think the idea is that either way, I guess you can do it either way, but you bring in a coach that's established like Jim Harbaugh, who like he doesn't need, a GM to figure out, how to assemble a team. Like, he knows what it takes to be a successful team in the NFL. And Jim Harbaugh bringing in him and then bringing in a GM that is like-minded, that like knows the same sorts of stuff. I believe it was a guy from the Ravens, which would make sense because Jim Harbaugh, obviously his brother John Harbaugh, great connection with the Ravens there. I think he was like a Ravens scout or something like that, or like assistant to the GM, something like that. Either way, you're hiring from good groups of people, right? It's like outside of like Belichick and hiring from his people, if you hire from competent organizations who have done ostensibly good things, you probably will have good results. It's like the Lions hire somebody who studied under Sean Payton and was the assistant head coach of a successful Saints team that almost made the Super Bowl. It's like, okay, good. We'll go with this guy. And then their GM was a college scout for the St. Louis and then Los Angeles Rams, who went to the Super Bowl, and then the very next year actually won the Super Bowl with many of the players that he helped scout. It's like, yeah, this is what happens. You hire from groups of people who are qualified for one, and then also are just good. Like they just know what they're doing. So I think the Chargers are taking note. I think you very well could see immediate success with this move, given the talent. I mean, I'm not going to go over I'm not going to the depth chart again, but they have the talent. They have the guys. You know, you can always add more. And, you know, Quentin Johnston, certainly a player who needs a little bit of work, but he was a great player for TCU. He's probably still going to be a good NFL player with a great quarterback in Justin Herbert. I think it's just a matter of getting him in the right mindset. And frankly, I'm surprised that any player would want to play for Brandon Staley. He really does not seem like a guy that you would want to play for. Whereas Jim Harbaugh, for all the Michigan stuff, obviously I'm a Spartan, so I don't have a great love for Jim Harbaugh as a football coach, especially the last couple of years. But he certainly knows football, and he certainly is a much more personable guy. I think players love him at every level. They loved him in the pros when he was 49ers. They love him in college. I think like there's something to it. Like it's a similar situation too to Pete Carroll, right? Pete Carroll, obviously I believe he's the coach of the Patriots, goes back to college. He's generally speaking unsuccessful with the Patriots, even though I think he was a little underrated potentially. I think there was some situations where he did not he wasn't the coach when they went to the Super Bowl against Green Bay, was he? I don't think he was. I don't know. Either way, he gets fired. He gets fired out of the NFL, just like Jim Harbaugh got fired out of San Francisco. You know, they might use less colorful language than that, but, you know, when somebody tells you they would like you to leave from your own job, it's a very nice way of telling you you're fired. But either way, he leaves for college, has success in college, wins a national championship, is, you know, covered in scandal, to say the least. We're not going to get into it, but either way, there's no denying that there's a lot of scandal going on with Michigan right now. He runs away from it. Fair enough. Doesn't want to deal with the suspensions. And now he's going to take over a team on the West Coast, actually, that has never had any success at the championship level. I'm actually really talking to myself. This is a very similar situation. And Jim Harbaugh is not like totally young, but he's young enough that, you know, you're gonna be able to keep him for, if he does a good job, you're gonna keep him for, you know, a decade, right? Similar to what Michigan did. They hired him in 2014, I believe it was 2014, 2015, and kept him for roughly a decade until, you know, things led towards his want to leave. We'll just leave it at that. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.